The small and mid-sized pickup truck segment has grown impressively over the last little while. In fact, this year alone, 2 new entries have arrived. Now, whether or not you consider them competitors or direct competitors to this, well, that's another story. But I'm talking about the Hyundai Santa Cruz and the Ford Maverick. And the latter will definitely put the hurt on this truck and a few other ones in the segment. And that's including the one that came before it at Ford, the Ranger, which was away for a long time. And well, the Ranger and the other two have joined the Honda Ridgeline, which again, maybe not exactly a direct competitor to this and the others. But then there's the Canyon, there's the Colorado, and then there's the segment leader, the Toyota Tacoma, which by all accounts, within reason, I mean, the fact is it's the dinosaur in the segment, but it remains the best seller. The Nissan Frontier itself, if we go back to its roots, has been around since the late 1950s as a Datsun. Now, it evolved over the years, and we only got the Frontier name a couple of generations ago. In fact, this is the 3rd generation, and it is it's the new 2022 Nissan Frontier. A lot of things have changed, but most of it is cosmetic because what we don't see, the ladder frame, is identical to the previous model. Wheelbases are shared, but other improvements have been made, and they are what will make an enormous difference for the new Frontier. I can summarize that by using the word refinement. It is certainly far more refined than it has ever been. So in the following video, we're going to do the usual walk around, and you'll see the interior too is a huge step up from the previous generation, which was around for 16 years, I believe, 15 maybe. Anyhow, and then we'll take it for a drive because that word refinement also applies there. All right, so let's just situate ourselves or position ourselves to get an idea of the size, because that's kind of become an important thing when you're comparing with, say, the Maverick or the Ridgeline or the Santa Cruz. The Frontier, as it sits, is almost identical in size to the Ford Ranger as we know it now. I mean, you're looking at nearly 5.4 meters in length overall. And yes, there are different cab and bed configurations, but if you average it out, that's what it looks like. It's also about the same width at just shy of, or about 1.8 meters across. I suppose that's the end of that. We can talk about styling. This is, as you can see, a Pro 4X. I think you saw the badge on the other side. This is definitely the looker of the bunch, with the wheels and the badges, and well, the front end, which is a little bit more aggressive. Certainly it does look good. The previous generation of the Frontier, well, it lost its appeal because it was just so damn old, but it was still a very attractive truck. What else can I say? Visually, I mean, we can talk about configuration. So now there's this crew cab, and there's still a king cab, which is a nice feature for a lot of people who just need a little bit of space to store stuff behind that. I'll show you a little bit what this crew cab is like. And there are 2 beds now, and this is also new. This is the 5-foot bed that you get with the crew cab. In some configurations, I believe it's the SV, you can also get the crew cab with the 6-foot box, because usually the king cab comes with the 6-foot box. And that SV version should prove to be fairly popular for those who need to actually work with their truck. So pricing starts at $39,998 for the base S model. Now this is the Pro Crew, because there's also a Pro King, which is also very, very cool and also unique to Canada. The Pro King, which means just the King cab, extended cab, is $45,598, and this Pro Crew starts at $47,498. And my tester actually has the luxury packages, adds leather and fender audio for a grand total of $49,498. Okay, so I guess that's enough for the walk around. I mean, you can definitely, well, I don't want to say definitely because that would be kind of cheating. You can see some maybe hard body inspired lines. I mean, a little bit of half of the portion of the grille, the way the headlights are kind of squared off. That's definitely attractive. I mean, like I said, with the Pro 4X kit, I mean, you do get these fairly considerable skid plates on the bottom, the tow hooks, and I really like the red accents, and it really works with the green color, which unfortunately the actual name escapes me slightly. So the 5-foot bed, maybe I didn't think this through by setting it up like that. The tailgate is thankfully dampened, or very dampened. There you go. So there's your 5-foot bed. One of the things that they like to talk about, Nissan and other manufacturers, is that they've made it accessible to get into the bed, but without climbing into it. So reaching in has become a lot easier. I really like the accents, the badges. Frontier stamped in the back. That's very cool. Pro 4X badge. All right. So in the crew cab, you do get seating for 5. I mean, it's a little bit snug back here. Yes, we're on the first drive event, so we have all of our camera equipment and stuff like that. And it was really cold this morning, so that's why we got coats. But seating isn't exactly that comfortable. It's very upright, but this is not so unusual in a mid-size pickup where the rear bench is kind of a plan B. But what's important is up front. With the leather seats, we can just jump right in there. Excuse me. Zero gravity seats, which are impressively comfortable, and they really look good. Too bad about my shadow. With the leather, I mean, they're very supportive, comfortable. I really like that. Something Nissan has often done with their trucks is keep things very simple. Now, just by looking at the door card, you can see, I mean, there's nothing ornate here going on, but the materials feel nice, feel reasonably durable. I mean, it's a nice touch, I suppose. There's your Fender audio grill. It's very plain, but it's okay, because the real changes happen right here. I mean, the previous generation of the Frontier was really stuck in the mid-2000s, in fact, early 2000s. You can tell, well, let's just jump in. Yes, and there's a start-stop button now too. Okay, so in the Pro 4X, you do get a 7-inch display here, which is a nice touch, obviously, for your speed readout and other stuff. And you get a 9-inch display here. So the base models, the S and the SV, get an 8-inch display. But look, based on the graphics and everything that we see here, it looks really good. There's only one unfortunate thing, is that the resolution from the camera, which actually doesn't, no, it does look bad. It's still a camera that reminds, I guess they went shopping with Toyota for these cameras because the resolution is horrible. But beyond that, I mean, everything looks quite nice. I mean, it's kind of a mix of robust premium with very simple features. You got a heated steering wheel, which is something that's always nice, especially as we get into the colder season. The grab handles are a nice touch as well. There's one in the back. Right there, visibility is, well, generally good until you get down to over this side. But again, you sit so high that you can pretty much work your way around and over that. There is one issue, and kind of proof is in the pudding in a way. The steering wheel is only tilt; it doesn't telescope. So, which tells me that there are a lot of carryover parts from the previous generation truck, which I suppose isn't necessarily a bad thing. Your tow mode, focus, thank you. Other important buttons like this. Hopefully I'll get to play with that. Yes, you can lock it up. Here's your typical 4x4 control buttons. So this is unchanged actually. The Pro 4X does have a few extra features, which I'll touch on in a few moments. But that's basically it. It's in fact quite basic, but very functional and fast forwarded into the 21st century. So now it's time to drive. All right, so I kind of touched on one of the biggest improvements for the 2022 Frontier, and that is, hold on, puddle. Oh yeah, it was refinement, right? Oh goodness. All right, so the camera is shaking a lot, but that's because I'm actually off-roading. Hey, this is what you have to do when you get a Pro 4X. I think I mentioned also that a lot of the components on this are carryover from the previous generation Frontier, including the frame, which has, well, kind of points to a certain number of things. One being that the 4x4 system is identical to the previous one, and while the dampers, the suspension, the setup is pretty much identical as well. Now, as you saw earlier, this is in fact a big puddle. Oh my goodness. Okay. Oh yes, okay, that's very nice. So this is in fact a Pro 4X, and well, that's what you're supposed to do when you have a Pro 4X for a number of reasons. One, you have an electronic locking rear differential, skid plates all over the place that you need, and the all-important Bilstein, I'll never get it right, dampers, which means that you can do some serious off-roading. One thing, however, and I was a little bit surprised to find out, is that the ground clearance is only about 1/10 of an inch. So it's 9.6 inches for a Pro 4X, which only works out to 1/10 of an inch over the regular S and SV. I'm going to guess that it's the tires that have to do with that, because the wheels are the same size, 17s. So the tires might be a little bit bigger. But overall, some of the portions of the off-roading that we just went through were, I'd say, mild difficult, and obviously the Pro 4X just handles it as though it was going out to the mall, like most well prepared and well sorted out off-road trucks. Now on the road, hopefully, that's pretty bad. Oh, I'll just slow down, maybe that'll get a little bit better. Refinement is the key element with the new Frontier, where on the road the truck just feels so much smoother and quieter, and that's because that Nissan did a lot of work with the NVH. The cab is now on hydraulic mounts. They have acoustic glass on the sides. There's more sound deadening all over the place, and well, that's it. So even off-roading right now, the rocks and everything that's being thrown into the wheel wells, you can barely hear them, which is kind of a nice feature, but kind of a little bit takes away from the off-roading experience. Now under the hood is the 3.8 liter V6, which has been, well, the exact words weren't tuned or revised for the Frontier, but let's just say it is. What is worked on for the Frontier is the 9-speed automatic transmission. The goal behind the powertrain itself was more on-road drivability and refinement and performance, compared to, say, a Tacoma, which, well, you get what you get and you manage with what you get. The 3.8 is actually fairly docile overall. The power band is rich, and the 9 gears in the transmission are revised, as I mentioned, to give you a little bit more acceleration. So it feels actually quite quick. Far more so than you would imagine a truck like this to feel. Of the compromises that Nissan, I guess, decided to make when building the new 2022 Frontier is keeping the old, well, C-shaped ladder frame and tuning the powertrain this way, because the towing capacity is still it's just under 6,500 pounds, making it one of the lowest in the real frame on or body on frame, I should say, pickup trucks. Regardless, I mean, 6,500 pounds or 6,490, I think, is still reasonably okay, I suppose. If you really want to tow, you're always going to go for a full-size pickup anyhow. One thing, I mentioned that the steering is not telescoping, but it is. Oh, it looks like we're about to hill descent. So there's a hill descent button that you also get with the Pro 4X, and here we go. Look, Ma, no hands. Well, no hands. You have to keep the hands on, but you don't need to use your feet, is what I'm trying to say. See, I lost track of what I was saying there. Yeah, you'll go to a full-size truck. Steering, yes. Steering is excessively, I guess we can get out of, there we go. Steering is excessively heavy. I mean, you kind of get used to it after a while, but stepping out of a normal car into this, it feels like there's no power assistance, which I guess gives you the feeling that it's a very robust, solid truck, when in fact it is, well, no more robust than it once was. Brakes feel nice. I mean, the takeaway from the 22 Frontier is that you get a lot more tech. You get an updated design that kind of fits the Frontier a little bit more than the previous generation, the second generation truck, which is a little bit more timid. This one has a little bit more visual bite. And the refinement, the key, and that kind of points to, I guess, where Nissan wants to really go with the Frontier, is to say that it is a capable, rugged truck that is also extremely at home in urban settings. And that's become more important than ever, especially when you consider said Maverick and the Ridgeline and the Santa Cruz, which are urban capable trucks that have some pickup abilities. But yeah, that's it. This is a really nice player. Nissan thinks it'll pop into the top 3, so behind the Tacoma, the Ranger, and then the Frontier, which is very, very believable, especially given the current interest in the truck. It's really nice. Essentially, it's just the Frontier evolved for the my goodness, that's horrible. It's just a Frontier evolved for the 21st century, and it'll do exactly what Frontier buyers and compact, mid-size pickup trucks want. Buyers, owners want. I got this.